You know what social media ruined? People's understanding of the weak phase. Nobody wants to be weak publicly anymore. That's dead, right? Everybody want to be fully immersed, fully formed like a Marvel character. They want to skip the caterpillar phase and go straight to being a butterfly, right? Nobody wants the ugly beginning. Nobody wants the bad takes. They don't want to be awkward. They don't want the awkward delivery, the terrible first attempts, right? The voice cracking, the zero aura phase, like the dripless phase. But unfortunately, that's the real phase. That's the human phase. And I think people understand this intellectually, right? But emotionally, oh no. Oh God, no. But emotionally, people still think they're supposed to skip it somehow. Like they're the exception, right? People see this with you especially see this with creative people. And I'm saying this as somebody who literally does accounting spreadsheets during the day and then comes home talking about manga psychology into a camera at night, right? Like I'm some schizophrenic humanities professor or something, right? This is obviously not a stable profession, to say the least. Let's establish we can establish that immediately right now, all right? But even then, I notice people want the identity of being good at something without really surviving the phase where they're clearly not good yet. That's the phase everybody tries to avoid some for some reason, right? Like, and honestly, that weak phase humiliates you, right? It humiliates you deeply, especially if you're secretly someone who thinks they're really smart. You think you're Jimmy Neutron or something, right? Like, oh my god. If you think you're talented early, the weak phase feels like psychological warfare, right? Because now reality starts responding to you. And reality is a rude motherfucker, right? Yeah, yeah, bad, yeah. Reality don't care about your inner potential, to say the least. Reality is like, okay, show me. You gotta prove it, right? That's when people start evaporating mentally, almost immediately. This is why a character like Rock Lee from Naruto was always interesting to me. And yeah, I know people, he's like the personification of hard work beats talent, right? And that's cool. Sure. But that's not even really the part that I really care about, I want to focus on right now. The interesting thing about Lee is bro never escaped looking ridiculous for a long time. Like ever, right? He rocked the bowl cut, to say the least. Like his drip was trash, green jumpsuit and everything, right? He was just running around screaming about youth, right? Doing push-ups aggressively in public, right? He looked insane, to say the least. Like if Naruto was really in real life, people would absolutely avoid him at lunch, 100%, right? The real Freddy Krueger. But the reason Lee eventually became respected is because he survived visible weakness longer than anybody else. And that's basically it, right? People romanticize his discipline now because they know that the outcome already was successful, right? And that's how humans work. We're followers. We don't believe until we see it, right? Once somebody becomes impressive, we rewrite the humiliation phase into grind set, grind mode, grind season, the winter arc, whatever they're calling it now, right? But during this weak phase, No, they do not show no appreciation. They think you're weird. You're weird. You're strange. They think you're forcing it. They think you're cringe. That is honestly the real experience. And social media made this infinitely harder, way more difficult because everybody's comparing their beginning to somebody else's edited middle, right? That's destroying people's that's destroying people psychologically. Let me talk. All right. You upload two videos, then immediately compare yourself to somebody who's been posting consistently since the Obama era, right? '08, right? He was like 7 at the time. Like you sometimes you gotta relax in terms of the comparisons because you just got here, right? And honestly, I think a lot of people quit early because weakness damages their identity too much, especially if they were the smart kid. Like, oh my gosh, if they were the Jimmy Neutrons, right? If they were the smart kid, the smart kid pipeline destroys people, to say the least, because if your whole childhood was people saying like, "Oh my gosh, you're so talented. Oh my gosh. Wow, you're so gifted. Oh my, you're just a special being. You're just being praised like you're the second coming of Christ, right?" Then struggling publicly for you feels spiritually incorrect. Now you're avoiding situations where you might look average, right? Which is terrible because you shouldn't be avoiding these situations because average is literally the bridge to become good, right? Which is unfortunate for your case, right? You know who else struggled with this? Kaneki from Tokyo Ghoul, especially the early Kaneki, the black hair Kaneki. And if you haven't watched Tokyo Ghoul, just read the manga, please. Avoid the anime at all costs. Maybe you can watch the first season, but after that, wow. Okay. The anime committed crimes against humanity, right? But anyways, early Kaneki is basically somebody emotionally collapsing because reality is forcing him to become something stronger, right? Stronger than he currently is. And that's basically the whole tension. He wants to maintain softness. He wants to live that soft life, right? While he wants to maintain this softness while existing inside a world that's demanding for transformation, that's forcing him into transformation. And the transformation is real ugly for him. I'm not gonna lie. It's probably the most gruesome portion of the series. And but to bring that back to real life, I think that's the part people skip. Transformation is not aesthetic in real time, right? In real time, it looks confusing. It's desperate. It's unbalanced. It's real painful, right? People only call it beautiful afterwards because they see the success that comes with it. And honestly, the gym kind of exposes this too, right? You ever notice beginners almost move apologetically, like they're trying to not disturb the atmosphere, right? Dudes walk into the gym built like uncooked spaghetti, right? All frail and you know what I mean? Like they're trying to quietly figure out machines like they're entering a forbidden temple, right? And I know this because I was this at one point in my life. Maybe I was a teenager, right? Everybody got that phase, right? You can't skip it. It's an unskippable cutscene, a very long cutscene, right? You got to survive it, and I believe that's the difference. Same with content, right? People upload 3 videos, then disappear because the first ones weren't amazing enough, right? Like, brother, Why would your first few videos be amazing? You're not great yet. Let's come back to reality. You gotta be grounded. You're a normal human right now. You're not great yet. You will be great if you just keep on being consistent. But for right now, you're literally watching yourself learn in real time, and that's what beginners are, right? I think people secretly hate beginners now, though. Not openly, but culturally, right? Everybody loves visible mastery. Nobody has patience for visible development anymore, which is insane to me, right? Because development is the entire process. And the worst thing social media introduced was performative expertise. Now everybody gotta sound experienced immediately now. Like they are just some sort of professional right out the jump. Like nobody says things like I'm still figuring it out anymore, right? They're all just pros, right? Like no, no, you're not. Everybody want to be a CEO. You always got CEO in the bio. Strategist. Visionary. Thought leader. Like, calm down. You're a student, and being a student isn't bad, right? Like people just drop shipping. They just started drop shipping 4 Thursdays ago, right? And think they're the next, big entrepreneur. Like they're like I don't know. Like if I'm being honest, I think people avoid the weak phase because weakness forces honesty, real honesty, not inspirational honesty, right? The weak phase reveals your patience. It reveals your ego, your insecurities, right? Your consistency, your emotional maturity. Because once the validation disappears, now we find out if you actually care about the craft itself. And that's the scary part for most. You know who understood this in a really depressing way? Thorfinn from Vinland Saga, and I know I brought him up from the prior video again, but it's because Vinland Saga is basically one long conversation about identity. Early Thorfinn thought strength meant violence, intensity, revenge, survival, right? Then life slowly humiliates him into being mature, right? And that process is quite ugly. It's quiet, it's slow, it's embarrassing. There's no montage music, there's no cool speeches. It's just gradual ego death, right? That's real growth, honestly. Most growth is just your ego getting beat up repeatedly, right? Until it stops screaming all the time, right? And honestly, that's probably why people never improve. They protect their self image more than their own development. So instead of being weak publicly for a while, they stay comfortable privately forever. And that's way worse, honestly, because at least a visible weakness can evolve. Hidden fear just sits there, just aging. So yeah, you can't skip your weak phase, unfortunately. You gotta survive being unimpressive, right? You gotta survive being awkward, unknown, inconsistent. You gotta be the regular dude, right? You gotta be regular before you can become dangerous at anything. And that's the part nobody can outsource. And honestly, that's probably why most people quit early. Not because they lacked potential per se, right? but because being visibly bad at something damaged the version themselves they wanted to believe in.